Today I'll be talking about 98 Weeks research project that is located in Beirut and that I co-founded with writer and curator Miren Arsanios. We had just finished our postgraduate studies and wanted to create a structure that would allow us to continue our research outside of academia. So this was the main intention behind the 98 Weeks creation. The name 98 Weeks invokes the time that we allocate for every research topic. It's almost 2 years, and it allows the research to develop and unfold through different formats such as workshops, seminars, talks, performances, screenings, publications, etc. So we, the two co-founders, are the ones setting the research topics, as they are directly linked to our own practices as artist and writer. So the relationship between our own practices and 98 Weeks is a very intrinsic one. The project is fed by our own work, and again, it's in its turn feeds back into it. So our first research project, Beirut Every Other Day, that was looking at the possibilities of spatial practices within the urban space of Beirut, took place all around the city in different available art and non-art spaces and in public spaces. So we were moving within the existing fabric of the city, given the nature of the topic itself. It included a series of workshops, each led by an artist, with many participants from different backgrounds: artists, architects, writers, journalists, actors, activists, theoreticians, etc. And I am saying this because this is, this artist-led workshop is the first format that we had adopted for research, and also, it's important to emphasize that 98 Weeks always works in between those different fields of knowledge, so it's some kind of a multidisciplinary platform. When we moved to the project space, hello, yeah, okay. There was a shift in the methodology of working, and we inaugurated our space with a peer-led workshop rather than an artist-led workshop. And it was an important transition into a new way of doing collective research, or doing research collectively with all the community that is around 98 Weeks. The second research topic on publications focused on two historical collections of magazines that were published in Lebanon and in Egypt in the 50s and the 60s. We were particularly looking at the transformation in Arabic language at a moment when a political shift was happening. So in this research project, we had invited readers and contributors of these magazines to reread this material, these existing collections of magazines from the 50s and 60s, to reread them and, to choose one issue and reread them and reinterpret the material by, and I forgot to say that they were literary and poetry magazines. I'm talking about these two previous research topics just to give you an idea of the way we started and how the research shifts according, or the methodology of research shifts according to the research topic itself, and also the structure of 98 Weeks changes according to the topic that we're researching. Topics develop organically, and the structure of the organization, as I said, adapts to them. It's also, I have to say also that it's fed by continuous conversations with a community of people around 98 Weeks that are very engaged with the city of Beirut. So it's important to mention that also 98 Weeks grows out of a certain engagement within the city, with the local scene and the broader international network of friends and collaborators. So the research is affected by where Okay, so the current research topic is that we started 2 years ago already, and we will be continuing, is feminisms. And it came out of a need to think about 98 Weeks as a feminist space and think feminism through 98 Weeks structure. So how can we think a structure from a feminist perspective? How would this help us rethink our own working conditions? How can also help us think about knowledge production from a feminist perspective? We also felt that those politics were somehow ignored by previous generations of artists and cultural organizers. So our intention was also to bring back feminist political discourse into the realm of contemporary art, to test its place and challenge certain institutional politics, including 98 Weeks' own organization, and challenge ways of art production. So the Feminisms projects consist of an ongoing reading group, which started with reading post-colonial feminists and moved to Islamic feminists, to more literary work and philosophers such as Rosie Braidotti, Beatrice Preciado, and many others. And the feminist library that is downloadable on our website. It also consists of the radio project that was made in collaboration with Nora Razian and Loris Abu Hamdan, and aimed at looking at reading through public radio transmission. Also, we publish a magazine, an online magazine that's called Makhzen, and that publishes literary texts through an open call process. And there's also the Feminisms Forum that was co-organized with Sissel Nelund that took place just a month ago. And it focused on labor and its relation to capital, domesticity, and institutions. So at this specific moment, there is a growing economy of domestic work, migratory flows, significant not only to a Lebanese context. And simultaneously, Beirut is experiencing an increase in new art institutions. And we see that women constitute a precarious part of the workforce upon which this art world functions. So, as art institutions continuously reproduce this exploitation, we wanted to critically ask, how can we think of underpaid women in the art world in the frame of a larger history of underpaid, unpaid domestic work? So to address this question, we invited activists, artists, cultural workers, and researchers to focus on the topics of capital and institutions over 2 days. Okay, to wrap up, so our first project was grounded in the particular and very local politics engaging with the urban space of Beirut. And the second research topic was perhaps more regional and was trying to engage with Arabic language. And now the third one, feminism, is trying to rethink the possibility of a critical project beyond this locality. And as I said at the beginning, the structure of the space and the project also changes according to the research project itself. So perhaps with the current research project, we do not need space anymore. So we're back to being in a nomadic state. as we started. So, yeah, thank you for listening.
So Marwa, maybe you can tell us a bit of the sense of joy, of discovery that you're experiencing as you're leading this project. How sustainable is that, the pleasure you derive from it? And also maybe how things changed when you were much smaller and now you're capturing a bigger imagination than the initial beginnings. How do you sustain that when you now move to feminism, which is more collaborative than the previous projects?
I think with feminism, there's... okay. With feminisms, I think for the first time, we sort of like, we're closer to what we were looking at from the beginning of 98 weeks, which is also to work with... Sorry, the mic is working. Now... Okay. I just used it. So I think that, with the feminism's research, we are much closer, as I said, to what we were trying to do from the beginning of when we started 98 weeks. Sorry. Because now since we started the feminism's research, we're much more connected to other NGOs in the city that are not only working within the art, realm. So this is something like I think a step outside of how we started.
Do you find that more rewarding for your project?
In a way, it's starting to become much more interesting in the sense that you start to feel that it is touching certain politics and you're actually have some kind of an impact, even if it's like a discursive impact within these politics and within a certain, although still small civil society. It's not so small anymore, but it's not a huge part of the society. But you start to feel that there is a discursive impact, and this is, I think, the rewarding part.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.